People were concerned, wow, they get confused with Prince Edward Island. Well, that's because they have a brand. We didn't have a brand yet. And if we're going to get confused with anybody, that's not such a bad place to get confused with. But it was our name. It was our given name, and it's the name of the place. So I refocused and collaborated with and cooperated and got buy-in to say, let's just pick one name and let's work on it. And the county is too generic. It's Prince Edward County, Ontario. It's a place. So why not make your place your brand name? You're working on a place-based name. I think that's a great idea. So we got rid of the dog's breakfast. We got rid of the 1950s stuff, and we brought it into the 21st century. And I happen to have some wine industry involvement personally, and we named a new wine region to the brand. I had some influence on that. I think I didn't have to influence a lot because it's a good name and people understood that. And once you build a brand and you get buy-in, then it sells itself, meaning within your community for the collaborative part, which is really key. And then stick to it. Pick your brand and stick to it. We've got DMO, we've got chamber, we've got wine, we've got economic development, we've got a lot of industry stakeholders. They're all on board, both by osmosis and by selling and educating people. Interesting in economic development, maybe a little less tourism, but it's kind of the way the world is going now. I'm going to contradict myself a little bit. We in Prince Edward County kind of have an unbrand in a way, and not in any kind of rebellious way. We don't really have a strong logo and brand imagery in the classic graphic design sense. But I think we have a state of mind we've created. And I think that transcends branding to a certain degree and is the new powerful way to brand yourself. So I'm not discouraging you from branding and logoing and all that. I think that's all good. But if maybe you understand that the core of branding is, if somebody says Prince Edward County, they go, oh yeah, that's wine and beach, or oh, this new creative economy stuff, or creativity, and what's going on there, really interesting. So South Simcoe has to do the same thing. It has to represent something, and that's when we said go back to decide and pick your strength and be that. Create a state of mind. The new mediums, which I'll talk a little bit more about later, Facebook and blogging and Twitter and the internet, it allows you to create that state of mind. So when I say branding and unbranding, I really want you to think of getting your stories out. You have hundreds, if not thousands of stories. You've got fairly inexpensive, low barrier to entry mediums with the internet now. Use that and get the media to sell your unbranded story for you. It's unbelievable. Well, I'll tell you how unbelievable it is. It's so unbelievable that 10 years ago we couldn't get invited to the Province of Ontario table about culinary tourism. To 2 years ago when we built investment, product development, tourism stuff, that a writer in the Globe and Mail called Prince Edward County the gastronomic capital of Ontario. Nobody noticed that except for me, because I'm a marketer. And I was all over that. And I pulled it out. And I detest the Globe and Mail, the national newspaper, the authority on everything, especially Prince Edward County. And are you kidding me? You can't buy that stuff. The Globe and Mail calls you the gastronomic capital of Ontario, and that's what you're doing. Wine and food and agriculture and added value tourism and high-end, yada, 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 yada. We worked that. Our MP gave us a certificate of acknowledgement that we were the gastronomic capital of Ontario. It's our story. It's who we are. Well, nobody else, Niagara or Stratford, they can't be the gastronomic capital of Ontario. They might be something else, wine capital or theater capital. So we own that. And we own it because somebody of authority said it was so. And if it's in the paper, it must be true. That's all I do. Because I know the bad news is true. So I'm taking the good news. Product development. Okay, so you've got a tourism area, big deal. Nobody knows about you. How do you stand out from the crowd? So You decide, you figure out what you're good at. In my case, I also had a passion for food and wine. I understood that, but it was inherent already in our community. For those that don't know, we've had 4 waves of economic development, if you will. The first wave was barley days. We had some of the best barley in North America, and it was shipped to the brewing industry. Food, we were that. Then we had cheese. We had, 30, 40 cheese factories shipped to Great Britain, all the cheddar. Food. In the early 20th century to just after World War II, we were known as the Garden of Canada, where we shipped almost half of all the canned tomatoes in the nation came out of Prince Edward County. Food. Okay. History had determined who we were. Perhaps the next wave would be tied to food. So build on your strengths. So we created food stuff, food events. I grew up in Quebec, maple syrup. We have maple trees. We tap them. I saw 3 different groups doing little itty-bitty things, not talking to each other. Collaborate. Pulled the maple syrup community together. Pulled the theater community together. Pulled the an overnight community together, the restaurant community, the arts community, and said, let's make a festival about maple syrup, because I heard shoulder season is where we're weak. So why don't we do a shoulder season festival? We'll all work together and we'll give it a try. And we did. And 5,000 people showed up to our party on a weekend. And now it's 8, 9, 10,000 people. And it's going to be the 10th year this year. Come on down last weekend in March, Maple in the County. Tractor rides, fiddle playing, theater, dinner. But it is an experience. And it's on Facebook and on Twitter and blogs. And everybody writes about it in the regional newspapers and sometimes in the Toronto newspapers. And it promotes our area. So it's a product. It's a tangible experience. And it's a state of mind that people can relate to. I always had this idea that I'd love to do a food festival. So imagine now, this is like 9 years ago, well over 9 years ago. There was a cidery. The winery hadn't opened yet, and we were not the gastronomic capital of Ontario. And so my goal, twofold, because as an economic development person, I want investment attraction. But I think as tourism people, you want investment attraction too. You want product development. You want more, better, stronger product, whether it's from within or externally. But I understand that may not be your core mandate, which is sort of probably traffic. However, you want both. So the goal of Taste, a celebration of regional cuisine, was to have people realize that in our own backyard, we had all these things. And I'm not suggesting people didn't understand it, but when you package something and showcase it, light bulbs go off. In fact, when I started, I talked about Prince Edward County as being a culinary tourism destination. And there were only really simple problems, only 2. We didn't know it, nor did anybody else. So that doesn't help you. So when you build product, it helps reinforce messaging. It sells the message. It helps people understand that, hey, there's something going on here, and I don't even have to think about it. I can just get it, or go to it, or see it on YouTube now, or what have you. So we built the Taste event. 1,250 people showed up. Now we limit it to 2,000 people. It's an unbelievable experience. 6 hours of great wine and food, live jazz, beautiful 120-odd-year-old agricultural building, and it's an iconic event. Both Maple and Taste have won, top 100 festivals, which is also wonderful. Then we kept building, and we said, geez, we're starting to have some wineries now. This is when we only had 3 or 4 wineries and restaurants. How do we tie all this together? So we developed something called the Taste Trail. And the Taste Trail was value add. So it wasn't just, a roadside stand couldn't join it. It's not that we didn't want to promote roadside stands, but there had to be a bit of an experience. If they had a tea house or they served lunch, that would be fine. Restaurants were obvious, winery, cidery, cheese factory, places where there was an experience that you could see the product being made or pick grapes or what have you. And my community, unlike yours, which I'm sure is very wealthy and has unlimited financial resources, also said, Dan, I'm not giving you much money. Good luck, go figure it out. And they didn't actually say that, but that was the net result. So we did something that is still pretty unusual, and I think that's why it's such a success, is we said, you know, we've got a really good idea, industry. In fact, it was a lady who runs our DMO now brought the idea to us via Scotland, the Taste Trail idea, and then we modified it to make sure it was tied to local. So it's not Cisco food, it's local food. And we said, we're gonna come up with a really good product. And you know how you usually invest $100 in things? Well, you're not going to do that with this. This is going to have highway signage, web brochures. It's going to be professional. And it's going to attract premium clients willing to spend